In the ever-evolving landscape of American politics and sports, recent events have captured public attention, intertwining narratives of personal achievement and broader governmental discourse. The spotlight has recently turned to two significant stories: the remarkable debut of Anthony Rubio, son of Senator Marco Rubio in college football, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio's vehement denial of a controversial draft executive order concerning the elimination of the Office of International Religious Freedom. In a heartwarming moment for the Rubio family, Anthony Rubio scored his first collegiate touchdown as a walk-on running back for the Florida Gators during the Gasparilla Bowl against Tulane. With just over a minute left in the game, Anthony, who had not seen action in the previous season, broke through for a 9-yard touchdown run, contributing to Florida's commanding 33-8 victory. The celebration on the sidelines was palpable, leading to a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for the team, but the joy of the moment overshadowed any concern over penalties. A really nice moment for the redshirt freshman who was seeing the field for the first time this season, remarked sports journalist Noah Ram, encapsulating the significance of this milestone for Anthony, who had previously trained tirelessly for this opportunity. Meanwhile, in the corridors of power, Secretary of State Marco Rubio found himself embroiled in controversy as he addressed reports about a purported draft executive order aimed at dismantling the Office of International Religious Freedom. Following a New York Times report that suggested a reorganization within the State Department, Rubio took to social media to refute the claims, labeling the document a hoax. This office, established under the 1998 International Religious Freedom Act, plays a crucial role in monitoring religious persecution worldwide, and its potential elimination raised alarms among human rights advocates. Notably, Nina Shea, a prominent human rights lawyer, emphasized that such a move would be devastating to the cause of defending against religious persecution abroad, reflecting widespread concern over the implications for U.S. foreign policy. Rubio's denial came on the heels of President Trump's nomination of former Representative Mark Walker as Ambassador-at-Large for International Religious Freedom, which appeared to contradict the alleged intentions outlined in the draft. The proposed changes, which included sweeping cuts to embassies and the introduction of artificial intelligence in policy development, sparked further debate about the future direction of U.S. foreign policy and the administration's commitment to human rights. As these narratives unfold, they highlight the contrasting arenas of personal achievement in sports and the sobering complexities of governance. Anthony Rubio's touchdown serves as a reminder of the personal stories that often get overshadowed in larger political discussions, while Secretary Rubio's stance on religious freedom underscores the ongoing tug-of-war over the fundamental values that guide U.S. policy. Looking ahead, both stories will likely continue to resonate. For Anthony, this touchdown may be just the beginning of a promising collegiate career, while for Marco Rubio and the current administration, the implications of their policies on international religious freedom will undoubtedly shape discussions in Washington and beyond. The dynamic interplay of personal milestones and political accountability will remain a focal point as the nation moves forward, navigating the intricate tapestry of sports politics and societal values. In an unfolding controversy that raises serious questions about security protocols within the Trump administration, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is facing scrutiny for allegedly sharing sensitive military information about operations in Yemen through an encrypted messaging app. This latest revelation adds to a troubling narrative surrounding Hegseth's management of national security communications. On March 15, 2025, Hegseth reportedly disclosed critical details regarding U.S. airstrikes targeting Houthi fighters in Yemen during a private Signal group chat that included his wife, brother, and personal lawyer, as well as several close aides. Sources familiar with the situation revealed that the information shared included flight schedules for F/A-18 Hornets involved in the strikes. This information was shared simultaneously in another Signal chat that inadvertently included a journalist from The Atlantic, which has sparked further debate over the security of communication channels used by high-ranking officials. The implications of Hegseth's actions are significant. As one U.S. official remarked, the inclusion of non-government personnel in discussions about military operations raises serious concerns about adherence to established security protocols. Hegseth's wife Jennifer, while not a Department of Defense employee, has been criticized for her proximity to sensitive discussions, especially after accompanying him to meetings with foreign leaders. His brother Phil also works within the Pentagon, raising questions about the necessity of their involvement in these discussions. Critics of Hegseth have pointed out that the existence of this second signal chat indicates a pattern of reckless behavior. The chat, labeled Defense Team Huddle, was created by Hegseth before his confirmation as Defense Secretary and was intended for more mundane administrative discussions. However, its use for sharing sensitive military operational details suggests a troubling lack of judgment. Following the initial leak reported by The Atlantic, Hegseth denied any wrongdoing, asserting that no classified plans were shared. Yet national security experts have expressed skepticism, indicating that even operational details such as strike timings could jeopardize the safety of U.S. personnel. The fallout from these events has been swift. Hegseth's handling of sensitive information has led to the dismissal of several aides, including Dan Caldwell and Darren Selnick, who were accused of leaking unauthorized information. Their firings have further intensified the atmosphere of distrust within the Pentagon, with reports of an internal investigation into Hegseth's communications practices. As tensions rise, even those close to Hegseth, such as his Chief of Staff Joe Casper, are reportedly considering their positions. The potential for Hegseth's removal has not gone unnoticed. Reports indicate that the White House is contemplating a change in leadership at the Pentagon, driven by escalating concerns over Hegseth's management style and the implications of his communication lapses. While President Trump publicly supports Hegseth, calling reports of misconduct fake news and attributing them to disgruntled former employees, some lawmakers are calling for accountability. Senator Tammy Duckworth, a Democrat and combat veteran, stated that Hegseth's continued presence endangers troops due to his singular stupidity. As investigations continue, the broader implications for national security and the integrity of military operations remain paramount. The Pentagon's acting inspector general has announced a review of Hegseth's communications on Signal, which underscores the administration's challenges in maintaining secure and appropriate channels for discussing sensitive matters. As the situation develops, it will be crucial to monitor how the administration addresses these concerns and whether it leads to systemic changes in the management of national security communications. The outcomes of this controversy could have lasting effects on the Pentagon's operations and the confidence of military personnel in their leadership. In a bold move that could reshape the landscape of food safety in America, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has announced plans to phase out 8 commonly used petroleum-based food dyes. This initiative aims to address growing health concerns related to these artificial color additives, which are prevalent in a myriad of food products, including cereals, sports drinks, and candy. The announcement set to be detailed at a press event in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday marks Kennedy's first significant step as the head of the Department of Health and Human Services to reform the nation's food supply. The proposed phase-out underscores long-standing criticisms from health advocates who argue that these synthetic dyes may be linked to behavioral issues in children, such as hyperactivity. While the Food and Drug Administration (FDA) has historically maintained that there is insufficient evidence to establish a direct causal relationship, the agency has taken action in the past, including banning red dye number 3 due to cancer concerns. Kennedy's initiative appears to resonate with a growing public demand for transparency and health safety in food production. The 8 dyes targeted for elimination, widely utilized across the United States, are already replaced with natural color alternatives in products sold in Europe and Canada, where regulations require warning labels for such additives. Kennedy's plan could significantly impact major food manufacturers like General Mills, PepsiCo, and Kraft Heinz, which have previously resisted changes, citing a lack of definitive scientific evidence connecting these ingredients to adverse health effects. Dr. Marty Makary, the FDA commissioner, emphasized the need for a paradigm shift in how the food supply is regulated, suggesting that erring on the side of caution is paramount when it comes to children's health. Why gamble with the health of our children? he questioned in a recent interview, echoing sentiments expressed by various health advocates who have long called for the removal of these chemicals. The push to eliminate food dyes gained momentum following a high-profile meeting in March where Kennedy urged executives from major food companies to prioritize the removal of artificial colorings. Legislative actions in states like West Virginia and California, which have enacted their own bans on certain artificial dyes, reflect a growing trend towards stricter regulations concerning food additives. As Kennedy prepares to unveil the full details of his plan, the FDA is expected to take a collaborative approach, initially seeking voluntary compliance from food manufacturers. Prominent figures in the health and nutrition community such as Marion Nestle, a professor emerita at New York University, have lauded this initiative as overdue. Nestle pointed out that many countries have already transitioned away from synthetic dyes, successfully integrating natural alternatives into their food products. Furthermore, Gerald Monde, a former FDA senior advisor, has argued that the visual appeal of ultra-processed foods enhanced by artificial dyes encourages overeating and contributes to obesity, a significant public health concern. While Kennedy's proposal seems to align with a broader movement towards healthier food options, there are concerns about the implications for scientific rigor in policymaking. Critics, including members of the food industry, have cautioned against implementing changes driven by ideology rather than solid scientific research, warning that this could undermine consumer trust in food safety standards. In parallel with the announcement regarding food dyes, Kennedy faces scrutiny over recent remarks linking autism to environmental factors, including potential vaccine connections. This controversial stance has drawn backlash from both public health experts and advocacy groups, highlighting the delicate balance between addressing public health issues and adhering to established scientific consensus. As the nation anticipates further developments on Kennedy's plans, the potential phase-out of synthetic food dyes could signal a significant shift in food policy, reflecting an increased prioritization of health and safety in the food supply. The coming months will likely reveal the extent to which these proposals will be embraced by industry stakeholders and how they might influence broader regulatory frameworks concerning food safety in the United States. In a significant development for the legal community in Washington, D.C., Brad Bondi, a seasoned lawyer and brother of former Attorney General Pam Bondi, has announced his candidacy to lead the D.C. Bar Association. This election is set against a backdrop of heightened scrutiny of legal practices and ethics, as the association oversees approximately 120,000 lawyers licensed to practice in the nation's capital. Bondi, who currently co-chairs the investigations and white-collar defense practice at Paul Hastings LLP, is competing against Diane Seltzer, a well-regarded attorney with her own firm and a strong backing from former D.C. Bar presidents. The elected president of the D.C. Bar serves a 3-year term during which they are responsible for appointing committee members and managing the association's budget, among other duties. Importantly, the president does not oversee disciplinary actions against lawyers, which are handled by the D.C. Bar's Office of Disciplinary Counsel. Brad Bondi's entry into the race comes at a time when the Trump administration has faced allegations regarding the treatment of lawyers who challenge its policies. His legal career, marked by teaching positions at prestigious institutions such as George Washington University and Georgetown University, and his focus on securities and investigations for financial institutions, may position him favorably among voters looking for stability and integrity in leadership. Leadership in the legal profession is essential, especially during times of uncertainty, Bondi stated in a recent interview. I aim to foster a supportive environment for all members of the bar, ensuring that we uphold the highest standards of ethics and professionalism. His campaign is particularly relevant given the current political climate, where the legal profession is under scrutiny for its role in upholding the rule of law. Former Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer recently suggested that high-ranking officials in the Trump administration, including Bondi's sister, may face legal repercussions for defying court orders. This perspective highlights the ongoing tensions between the executive branch and the judiciary, raising questions about accountability within the legal system. In response to these assertions, Pam Bondi has been vocal in defending the administration's actions, characterizing legal challenges as politically motivated. She has accused judges of attempting to overstep their authority, framing the situation as an effort to undermine the executive branch's prosecutorial powers. This is a non-existent case of criminal contempt being pushed by politically motivated judges, she argued in a statement. As the D.C. bar election approaches, D.C. bar members are encouraged to engage with the candidates and cast their votes by June 4. The outcome will not only determine the leadership of a pivotal legal organization but may also reflect broader trends in the legal community's response to current political dynamics. Looking ahead, the implications of this election extend beyond the D.C. Bar Association itself. With ongoing debates about the rule of law and the integrity of legal practices, the next president will undoubtedly play a crucial role in navigating the challenges ahead. As Bondi's campaign unfolds, it remains to be seen how these issues will influence the future of legal advocacy in the nation's capital and beyond. In a political landscape marked by turbulence and uncertainty, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has emerged as an unlikely stabilizing force within President Donald Trump's administration. As Trump grapples with a series of impulsive decisions and mounting pressures, Bessent has played a crucial role in steering the president away from potentially disastrous policies. However, his position may be precarious as the dynamics within the White House evolve. Last Thursday, Trump threatened to revoke the nonprofit status of several prestigious universities and an ethics watchdog following the abrupt replacement of the acting IRS commissioner with Gary Shapley, an ally of tech mogul Elon Musk. Bessent, surprised by this sudden move, swiftly intervened, convincing Trump to appoint his own deputy secretary, Michael Faulkender, in Shapley's place. This decisive action has temporarily quelled fears of illegal tax status revocations and demonstrated Bessent's ability to act as a guardrail against Trump's more extreme impulses. The tension between Bessent and Musk escalated when Musk publicly criticized him for allegedly colluding with a Trump hater, further complicating Bessent's position. This incident is emblematic of the complex power dynamics within Trump's inner circle, where alliances shift rapidly and loyalty is often questioned. Bessent has previously isolated more radical advisors like Peter Navarro, who championed aggressive tariffs during a recent financial crisis. By facilitating a critical discussion with Trump, Bessent was able to prevent the implementation of Navarro's tariffs, showcasing his influence in a chaotic environment. Despite these victories, Bessent's tenure is not without challenges. Trump's increasing hostility towards Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell raises questions about Bessent's long-term viability as a moderating force. Trump's public criticism of Powell indicates a willingness to disregard prudent economic management in favor of populist sentiment, suggesting that even Bessent's insights may not always align with the president's desires. Bessent's background adds another layer to this narrative. Once a Democrat and a protege of investor George Soros, his experience in the financial sector gives him credibility among Wall Street executives. However, the same background raises eyebrows among Trump's more fervent supporters. Bessent's polished demeanor and openness about his identity as a gay man further distinguish him from the predominantly MAGA-aligned officials within the administration, making him both a target and an asset. As Bessent attempts to navigate the treacherous terrain of Trump's second term, the question remains: how long can he maintain his position as the lone voice of reason amidst a chorus of extreme views? With Trump's administration increasingly purging voices of moderation, Bessent's ability to influence policy may wane. His current efforts to advocate for permanent tax cuts and stable economic policies underscore a desperate need for fiscal prudence, especially as the expiration of significant tax cuts approaches at the end of 2025. In this high-stakes environment, the future of both Bessent and Trump's economic policies hangs in the balance. As the administration faces growing scrutiny from the markets and the public, Bessent's role as a stabilizing force may be tested time and again. Observers will be watching closely to see if Bessent can continue to wield influence in a White House increasingly resistant to outside counsel, and how these dynamics will affect both the economy and the political landscape in the months to come. Amid rising tensions and unanswered queries in the U.S. government, a group of Democratic legislators is pressing for clarity regarding recent firings at the National Institute of Standards and Technology (NIST). Representatives April McLean Delaney and Jamie Raskin, alongside 20 other congressional members, have expressed their serious concerns over the abrupt termination of several probationary employees at NIST facilities located in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and Colorado. Their worries are compounded by a planned reduction in force RAF that threatens to impact the agency's operational capabilities across various mission areas. In a letter addressed to U.S. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, the legislators outlined their demands for information, specifically asking how these personnel cuts would affect NIST's functions, including essential utilities and maintenance. How will your plan for a reduction in force at NIST affect the agency across mission areas? The letter queried, underscoring the potential ramifications of these staffing changes on critical projects and facilities. Despite setting an April 16 deadline for a response, the legislators have only received a standard acknowledgement of their letter with assurances from FEMA that a reply is forthcoming. This situation unfolds at a time of broader political dynamics, especially following Lutnick's recent confirmation as Secretary of Commerce. Lutnick, a former Wall Street executive and the 17th cabinet member, confirmed under the Trump administration, has already begun navigating the complex landscape of a department that oversees a vast array of functions, from the Census Bureau to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. His leadership is expected to be scrutinized, particularly in light of the ongoing turmoil within the Trump administration, where conflicting agendas and internal rivalries have begun to emerge. In a striking demonstration of these divisions, reports have surfaced regarding Lutnick and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent bypassing trade advisor Peter Navarro to propose a pause on certain trade tariffs. This maneuver suggests a growing frustration within the cabinet about Navarro's influence over trade policy, an area where President Trump has frequently declared his staunch positions. The Wall Street Journal reported that Bessent and Lutnick capitalized on a rare moment without Navarro's presence to advocate for a strategy aimed at stabilizing the financial markets, highlighting the degree of discord within the administration. As these events unfold, the implications for NIST and the broader economic landscape remain uncertain. The legislators' concerns underscore the potential disruption that personnel cuts could bring to a vital agency responsible for setting standards that underpin various sectors of the U.S. economy. With the Commerce Department's substantial budget request of $11.4 billion for fiscal year 2025 and nearly 47,000 employees under its purview, the stakes are high. Looking ahead, the response from Secretary Lutnick and the Commerce Department will be critical, not only for the future of NIST but also for the administration's credibility in managing its internal conflicts and executing its agenda. As the legislative body awaits a more detailed response, the spotlight remains on how these intertwined issues will impact the functioning of federal agencies and the administration's overall strategy in a rapidly evolving political landscape. The coming weeks could prove pivotal in determining the direction of U.S. policy and governance as these tensions continue to unfold.